Guys, what's up? Welcome to today's episode. I have a Q&A for you today and I'm really excited. During the last Q&A episode, I asked if this is something that you guys like, if you wanted it monthly, if we want it more often. And so many of you on Spotify and messages told me that you wanted a monthly Q&A. So I'm going to do my best to start to incorporate that. I'm not going to guarantee that it's going to be every 4 weeks because that's just not really how I roll. If there's something that I want to talk about in an episode, I'm going to just talk about it and push the Q&A out a little bit. But every few episodes, we will do a Q&A. I actually could have almost broken this one up into two Q&As. So we'll see. Maybe I'll throw another one here in a couple weeks, but I'm really excited. I always love the questions that you guys give me. Truly, I think they're so good. And whether you want to know something about me or whether you want to know just my answer to something, I really appreciate you asking. So I actually just asked the questions yesterday on my Instagram stories, and I appreciate you writing in so quickly because I needed some content for today. So let's get started because I want to try to get through all of these. We'll see. I have some that were pertaining to me, and then I have some that obviously you just wanted me to answer. But I think during this Q&A, what you guys like, I think anyway, is obviously my real life take on it and just kind of like my immediate answers. So I have a little bit of an outline, but really I just kind of want an ad lib and give you my true thoughts on this, not like a full episode coaching session, like my real thoughts, because I really like that about other personal trainers, coaches, even just online personalities that I follow. Like I want to know their direct answers and their personality. I want it to come out in that form in a Q&A. So that's what we're going to do. So question number 1 that I want to dive into is, what are your favorite ways of measuring progress outside of the scale? My favorite ways of measuring progress outside of the scale are, I really honestly like to rely on how I look. I have been doing this long enough to know if I'm holding on to fat in a certain area and it's getting a little too much or a little out of hand, or I can just tell physically if my abs are looking more cut, if there's a little more fat over my abs, however I'm looking and feeling physically. If I look in the mirror and think things are getting a little out of control here, Christy, we need to reel it back in. That's probably the number one way outside of the scale that I measure my progress. Actually, that's probably the number one way that I personally measure progress at all, is just how I look, because I know how I like to look and I know how to get there. So seeing myself physically, I can really tell what's off. That comes from a long time of doing this and a lot of trial and error. Another way that I use is how my clothes fit. I have a couple pair of jeans that only fit me during certain weights, I guess, certain physiques. And when those start to get really tight, I start to know that that is my sign to reel it back in. Also, it's the beginning of March right now as I'm recording this, and we're going to be, wearing shorts soon. And that is another way. Every single year around this time of year, I start to put on my shorts and they don't look right. They don't fit right. So that is a way that I will measure progress. Not saying that I'm too big or anything like that. It just helps me to know, okay, I need to start my cut on this day so that it gives me so many weeks before I actually need to fit into these shorts and look good and feel good. I also use the progression marker of how the weight is moving in the gym. I can tell if I'm really struggling, if I'm building muscle. So how my workouts feel and how easily certain weights, certain dumbbells are moving, and then my energy and my sleep. But I will also just touch on very quickly, I do use the scale for progress and not just my overall body weight. I'm not so much focused on that. I don't really care about that. I use the scale as far as seeing my body fat percentage, my muscle mass percentage, my protein percentage, my body water, like all those other numbers on a smart scale. I do use those a lot. So I want to be honest with you. I do use the scale to measure my progress, but not in a way of like, oh, I'm gaining weight or I'm losing weight or that number is defining me. It's more just seeing if the weight is moving well in the gym, then I should be gaining muscle. If my abs are looking more cut and more defined, then I should be losing fat. So I do simultaneously go off of both of those. But those are my favorite ways. I don't take measurements. I don't take progress photos anymore. I used to, but now, once you've looked at progress photos of yourself and you've changed how you've eaten, and once you've done all the things that I tell you that I do, or I tell you to do, recommend that you do, for so many years, you don't have to do those anymore. And you can just go based off of how you look, how you feel, how you sleep. So those are, for me, how I measure progress. Second question was, what should you be eating before and after a workout, and the timing of those things? So what should you be eating before and after a workout depends on you. It depends on what you can handle, what doesn't make you feel too full for a workout. So it's going to be very much per person. This is one of those things, like so many other things in this world. It's one of those things that is not just a cut and dry answer of this is what you absolutely should be eating, so many grams of protein, so many grams of carbs. It's kind of different per person. If fasted feels good, so if you're a 5 a.m. workout person and you're like, I, ate up until 9 p.m., so I have some fuel still in my tank and I feel okay, go ahead and work out fasted. But I do recommend having something like a rice cake on hand or a little tiny protein shake, maybe just a half scoop or something that you've mixed up that you can have during your workout when you start to get hungry. Let's say 30 minutes into your workout, you're starting to feel hungry. So I recommend having something on hand that you can have during your workout, kind of like an intro workout, if you do start fasted and you start to feel hungry, because the last thing you want to do is get in the middle of your workout and you're feeling nauseous and starving and weak, because that kind of defeats the purpose. But eating during your workout is totally fine. If for me, things that I eat before my workout are half of a Greek yogurt, half of a protein shake, rice cakes. I used to have honey before my workouts, a banana. Oftentimes I'll have before my workout, but you want to have mostly carbs and you want them to be simple carbs that digest quickly to get right into your body for your body to quickly use for fuel. And then for me personally, to stabilize those carbs, I do like a little bit of protein to go with. So my personal is 1 or 2 chocolate rice cakes with half of a protein shake. So like 10 grams of protein. That's not too much on my stomach. But if I eat 1 rice cake and drink half of that protein shake and I feel like that's enough, I feel good, I'm going to just go with that. After, you want protein and carbs within a few hours, optimally, to refeed your body for recovery. But it doesn't really matter what you have. It's more, if I sit here and say after a 1 hour exactly after a workout, you have to have chicken and rice and broccoli. Probably most of you can't do that because you're probably going to work or at work already an hour after your workout. And it's not realistic for you to sit down and make a full meal, right? So you can have eggs and toast on your way to work. You can have the rest of your protein shake and another rice cake. You can have some fruit. You can have anything that is a little bit of protein and a little bit of carbs within, I'm even going to say a few hours, within 2 hours, as long as you're eating after your workout, within 2 hours of your workout, that is a good time to be able to refeed your body, refuel your body. I personally can't wait that long after workout. I'm starving. So a lot of times for me, what that will look like is I will get up, I'll do my morning tasks, whatever I need to do. I will have my rice cake and I will have my protein shake. Along with that, I'm also having my morning supplements, which is my creatine, my EAAs, which are essential amino acids, my D-bloat, which is my prebiotic and my probiotic, and then my caffeine, my pre-workout. So I'm mixing all of that together and I'm having that as well. So I'm drinking that. I'm drinking half of my protein shake and I'm having a rice cake. And that if I'm still hungry and feel like I need a little more food in my stomach, I will have a banana or another rice cake. And then afterwards, a little while after, I come in, shower, usually get to work on answering some client messages. And then after that, I will have my overnight oats, which is 20 grams of protein and I don't know, probably 40 grams carbs, something like that. I don't know exactly, but I'm putting some blackberries on there and I also put some whipped cream on there. Sometimes I throw on some little Heath bits and some sprinkles, but that's more of like my recovery meal. So it doesn't have to be something actually specific. A lot of bodybuilders will have like sweet tarts and Sour Patch Kids and Rice Krispie treats before their workout. It's fast digesting sugar and carbs. So no right or wrong. I don't necessarily recommend that. Not really a good habit to get into, but bodybuilding is a completely different game, right? That's a completely different genre. So we're not going to talk about that right now. The next question that I got was how to know if it's time to lift heavier or progressive overload. So progressive overload, I want you to just remember that it isn't lifting heavier every single week. It's lifting harder over time. So think if you get to the end of, let's say, if you get to the rep range that you're working in, let's say you're working in the 6 to 8 rep range and you get to 8 reps and your form is super squeaky clean. Your form is perfect and you're not exhausted. You still have 1 to 2 reps in the tank, reps in reserve. The control is there. You're seriously doing it with like really, really good form, really good reps, and you feel good. And you're like, I could do a couple more with this really good form. That is when you need to progressive overload. If you continue to do that and you continue to just get to the end of your rep range, 8 reps, and they're fairly easy, good form, and you can do it again kind of without thinking, right? You're just standing there, just dumbbell curling, just like could do this for a little while, right? This is no big deal. Why do people say this is hard? That's why, because you need to increase your weight. So do not, though, increase your weight if you do not have good form and if you are struggling to get to 6 and you're struggling to get to 8. You want to be able to say, I could actually do a little more. I think I could maybe do more weight and do 5 or 6 reps even. Maybe I can't do more weight and do the 8 reps, but I can do more weight and do the 6 reps. Or you can get to the end of that rep range. You're at number 8, you get it up and you're like, I have 1 to 2 reps left. Do those 1 to 2 reps. Now you're doing the same weight for 10 reps. So remember, progressive overload isn't always more weight. You can also add reps. You can also add another set. So instead of doing 3 rounds or 3 sets of 6 to 8, you could do 4 sets of 6 to 8. You can slow it down. You can have better control. You can work on the eccentrics. So instead of on a bicep curl, just going down and up and down and up, you could go down for 5 seconds, count to 5, and up for 5 counts. So work on that. You can go into more range of motion, better range of motion, and you can also take smaller or shorter rest breaks that will also work your system a little bit more. If you are completely recovered, you've done your 6 to 8 sets of, let's say, squats. You've done 8, and then you've rested for a full 2 minutes, and then you did another 8 squats. Maybe the next time you rest for 1 minute because your body's like, I don't know if I can actually do this, right? That's more challenge. So it's the same reps and it's the same set, but it's less rest in between. So it's all about challenging your body. And when to do that is when you feel like you have really good form with the amount of reps that are set for you. And sometimes even if you don't know for sure, if you're like, I don't know if I should be increasing my weight, grab a heavy weight and see if you can lift it. Chances are you probably can, and you're just being a little sissy or second guessing. Don't second guess it. If you pick up a weight and you can't do it, you can't curl it right, you can't do the rep without good form, put it back down. Or if you can't do the rep, if you can do the rep with good form and it's just not fantastic and perfect, that's fine. Challenge yourself, right? But you have to earn it. You can't just be progressive overload and be one of those people in the gym that are swinging the weights around and that just, you're going to get hurt. Okay. So don't ego lift, but always be thinking, can I add another set? Can I add another rep? Can I add some weight? Can I add a pulse, right? Can I, whatever, like, can I make this a little bit harder somehow? It doesn't have to always be adding weight. And I know that wasn't the question. It was, well, lift heavier and progressive overload. They're not, that's the same thing. Lifting heavier is progressive overload, but there's so many other ways to progressive overload as well. Next question is, let me get there. Sorry. How to know cut versus maintenance. And then do I just cut some carbs and fats and add some steps? So the only way to really know cut versus maintenance is if your body is ready. You don't just decide one morning like, oh, I think I might put myself into a cut. Your body has to be ready. Okay. You have to be primed from it. You want to be in a cut only when you can stay consistent for 6 to 8 weeks. Your sleep and stress can be managed and lifting performance stays mostly stable. So your life cannot be chaotic, crazy, up and down if you're going to be in a cut. Maintenance is a yes when you're exhausted, when you're traveling a lot, when you're very inconsistent, when you need habit stability, and when you're burnt out from dieting. When you're burnt out from that cut, you want to go up into maintenance to make life a little easier. One adjustment based on the calories or carbs and fats question and the steps question is yes. I was talking to a client about this just yesterday, and we were talking about putting her into a deficit. And she said, I don't have the capability to increase my output, her steps. She's swimming, she's running, she's lifting. Like, she doesn't have time based on her kids' schedule and her work schedule and travel schedule. She doesn't have time to add in more movement. So we're taking away calories. But another option is if people are like, I'm already at 1,400 calories or 1,500 calories, and I want to do a cut, I'm not cutting your calories anymore. I will say to that person, we're not cutting your calories. You actually need to reverse diet. But if you're not willing to do that with me, then you need to start increasing your steps. You're not feeding your body any less than what where you're already at if you're at 1,500 calories. So that's when you know if you can't stick to a cut, don't do it. Then you're not ready. And that's how you know if you're ready or not. And that's exactly how to do that. Next question I really like is how to do it all with work and kids and travel and be healthy and exhausted. I actually want to read this word for word because I thought it was great. How to do it all, working, kids, schedule, work, travel, and be healthy. I'm exhausted. That was the actual question that I got, which I love. And I love the girlie that wrote it in. But my first thought was, well, first when I read that, I thought it said, how do you do it all? Like she was asking me, how do I do it all? And I'm like, no, I don't do it all. And if you think I do it all, we need to chat. But then I thought, I reread it and thought, no, she's not even assuming that I do it all. You probably know me well enough at this point to know she's not doing it all, not doing it all well anyway. So that was my first thought was, I don't do it all. I don't do it all well anyway. So I don't want anyone to look at me and think like, how do you do it? Because it's hard if you're thinking that I do. But the first thing that I thought of too, well, I should say the second thing that I thought of when I was reading this question was how to do it all and be healthy. It was basically the wording here, right? How do I do my entire life? How do I, me personally, be a mom, be a wife, take care of the kids, take care of the house, do my job, travel, get the grocery, all the things, and be healthy? The first thing that I think of when somebody asks me that is to be healthy to me is on autopilot. And that's really what I want to dive into here is to be able to do all the other things well, you can't be stressed out about your health too. We take so much time thinking about what to eat, when to work out, what workout to do, what to wear to the workout, when am I going to go to the gym, or am I going to work out from home? We spend so much time thinking about those things, when to prep, right? For me, it's so automatic. I know every single day based on whatever my schedule is, when I will work out. I know when I will get my walks in. I know what I'm going to eat. It's already tracked. It's already made if it needs to be. It's done. I know what to hit for my macros. I know exactly what my workout's going to be. I know where I'm going to work out. All of that is on autopilot for me. So to be healthy, which should be, it's kind of like one of those things like you have to put your mask on before everyone else, right? You have to save yourself before you can save other people. You have to be healthy first before you can be good at work and good with the kids and good with your spouse. But in order to do that, it has to be so simple that you don't think about it. Because for me, it started to make a lot of sense for me. Like my kids are, especially when they were little, my kids now are 18 and 20. I'm sorry, my son's going to be 18 soon, unfortunately, 17 and 20. So I, have been doing all of this healthy stuff, all of this working out and this healthy lifestyle and building my body through the years of when my kids were younger. So I understand it all, right? And now they're older and it's still crazy. Like every single day, my son still wants to do something that throws me off. Do I want to go shopping? Do I want to go to the cages and play baseball? Do I want to watch him golf? Do I want to play a game? Do I want to watch a show? Do I want to watch something on TikTok? Do I want to, right? And then my daughter is, do you want to eat something? Do you want to watch this with me? Listen to my stories for the day? Right? And then to have a little energy left over for other people and then do all the other things. Life is so unpredictable. Work, things will always come up. There will always be issues. Kids, always issues. Animals, always issues. Spouses, always something to do. House, always issues. Healthy, simple. I know when to get my steps in. I know exactly what to eat. I know exactly what workout I'm going to do. I know exactly when I'm going to do it. And usually doing all of that previously, right? Prep your food, get your workouts in, get your walks in as early in the day as you can so that when things fall apart later, you're not thinking about the healthy part. Does that make sense? So have your protein staples, have your snack staples, have all your food staples, make it so fucking simple, okay? Have your steps be a baseline. Right now, mine's it was 6,000 and 8,000 this week. I'm upping it to 8,000 minimum. I think I've actually hit 9,000 or 10,000 every day. Keep that a very basic, realistic number. Lifts 3 times a week minimum, and then sleep. You have to go to sleep at a certain time. You have to get up at a certain time. Like make yourself some standards and stick to it. But that's why I'm stressing simplicity. That's why I'm stressing the same meals. That's why I'm stressing planning ahead of time. That's why I'm stressing get a walking pad if the weather sucks where you live. me. That's why I'm stressing, make all of this so autopilot so that it doesn't have to be on your mind, so that you can adjust the other things in your life, right? Because you're not going to say no to your kids. You're not going to say no to a work event. You're not going to say no to a work project that your boss is making you do. What you will do is say, I won't hit my steps today, or I guess I'll eat out today because I didn't prep, or I guess I'll miss my workout, right? That has to be non-negotiable and it has to be first, but that's why it has to be so fucking simple. This gets me all excited and heated up. It has to be so simple that you do it on autopilot, you do it no matter what, and it becomes easy. The rest I can't help you with. I don't know how to do it all with work, kids, travel, because that is just madness, right? I've been through travel baseball. I've been through travel volleyball. I've been through elementary school, middle school, high school. I've been through graduation. I've been through travel. I've been through working as a hairstylist and only having breaks in between clients. I've been through now building my own business here and what this looks like. And I've navigated so much in my life and my marriage and my kids and my job. And now we have 2 cats that I never thought we would have. We've always had our golden doodle Mac for 8 years? I think he's 8, going to be 9 this year. And now, we got a cat last year. And we got a cat before that, the year before that. Like, life is just always changing around me. The only thing though that has not changed, you guys, for me in the last 10 years is my workouts, my steps, my food. And it's so simple. If I don't have time to prep my food, it won't get prepped. So I don't prep food. I buy things already made for me, whether that be oats overnight, I order it, protein bars, I have some protein shakes, I prep things ahead of time if I can. I have my creamies made up. I have really simple lunches, tuna fish, and my hummus and my salsa concoction, and I eat it with tortilla chips. And I have some salmon that I just pop in the air fryer, and I have yogurts, and I have just super simple foods like salads. It's okay to eat the same thing all the time. It's totally fine. And that will make it easier to manage the rest of your life. Speaking of, next question, is there a protein limit per meal? I said speaking of because I'm talking about eating your protein staples, getting your staples in line. This is something that is a really good question. And this is also something that I used to mess with a lot because there used to be this myth going around that your body could only digest 30 grams of protein at a time, which is wild because it's a very specific number. How could your body only digest 30 grams of protein at a time? Kind of crazy, but I believed that for years. So the answer is no. There's not a strict limit or even a suggestion, I guess I will give a suggestion. What am I trying to say? There's not a specific range that you should have or that you should limit yourself to. I personally think 40 to 50 for myself, my stomach doesn't do well on that. Protein is the macronutrient that is the hardest on your body to digest. It takes more work physically for your stomach, for your gut to digest protein. For me, I already have stomach and gut issues, so I don't want to push that. So I keep it at 25 to 35 per meal. You can do more than that because if your body will handle it, then that's fine. I also know that spacing out your protein is better for muscle gain. It's better for muscle maintenance to spread it out throughout the day. And that really just feels better for me. It makes me feel more satiated. I know if you don't have the lifestyle though, I'm kind of blessed in that way where I can just kind of graze all day. I make my own hours. But if you don't have that capability, when I was a hairstylist, I would shove protein in the morning, I'd shove protein in at lunch, and I'd shove protein in at dinner. And it was whatever my goal needed to be because I didn't have time to eat during the day. I was always with clients. And then in the evenings, we had things with the kids. So if your lifestyle right now doesn't accommodate you being able to just snack on protein all day, then I would aim for 25 to 45 grams max. But I would prefer you to have about 30 grams per meal, per snack, and spread it out throughout the day. The last question, actually, no, I lied. I got a fun question, which is what are my favorite sneakers? For lifting, I love Nike Metcons and the Nike Metcon Freeze. I used to lift it in Vans as well, the Vans high tops. You could do low tops too. I just really like the high tops. So for lifting, those are my favorites. For walking, my favorites are Brooks. And for running, my favorites are Nike. I actually just love my lounge shoes, I guess, right now, like my all-around shoes that are Nikes. Don't know what I've sent them out in my newsletter before. I'll do that. I'll try to send those out again in this week's newsletter. So get signed up for that. You can go to unfuckyourfitness.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you can click connect with me. It says get our newsletter, and you can connect with me, and you can sign up for the newsletter there. And it will be in, let's see, if you're listening to this in real time, it's Tuesday. So it will be in tomorrow's newsletter. I'll put those cute little Nikes in there. I've also been loving me some Adidas Sambas lately. I have a blue pair to represent my Dodgers, and I have a white pair that my husband got me for Christmas with black stripes, and they're just super simple, but I wouldn't wear those to work out in. They're too narrow, but they're very, very cool looking, and I love them. Now I want to get into a kind of a thought question, definitely question, but it's more of like me talking through a couple things. So a while ago, a couple weeks ago, I had a really cool question or comment, I guess, on Spotify, but it ended up being a question. And just to kind of put it very simply, we were talking about discipline and habits translating into other parts of life. And I don't remember what episode she had commented on, but she ended up asking me, what are you better at because of fitness? What skills? And how do those translate elsewhere? And what does that look like? And I thought this was such a cool question because I talk a lot about how fitness has changed my life, not just because I started to love fitness and became a personal trainer and now I do this. And obviously this has changed my life, and my life has changed drastically since I started coaching and since I really started diving into fitness, honestly. But how? And it's so hard for me to put that into words, honestly. So I may have to just do another episode about this because I think I could really dive into it. And I think you guys would really appreciate me being real and raw. When I wrote this question down last night as I was going through notes and kind of thinking about which questions I wanted to answer and how I wanted to go about this episode. And I actually started to get kind of emotional thinking about different ways that I could answer this question. But I guess what I want to say here is, and let me know if you want me to elaborate on this and kind of talk about what my life looked like before and how I've changed personally and how my body's changed. And I mean, I could go into so much depth on this, and I think that would be really cool for you guys to see, just to kind of get to know me better and on a deeper level, but also then in relation to fitness and relation to so many other things, because this is a really, really deep question, honestly, because the fact that I started to tear up when I thought about what I was like and ways that fitness has transformed my life, it really does get pretty deep. It really does affect my confidence. It really does affect my lifestyle. It really does affect how I see myself. It really also does affect how I look at my relationships with other people and who I value and what I value about them. And it really does bleed into other aspects. So when we're talking about discipline and habits, because you have to have the habits that I just talked about with my own life, where fitness is it's on autopilot for me because of habits that I have. I try to go to bed at a decent time, and that's like before 11 p.m. for me. But then I do get my steps in. I do drink my water. I do hit my macros pretty closely. I do have them flexible enough so that I can hit them every day. I do my workouts every week. I'm very habitual with those fitness types of things. I'm also very habitual with my work. I know what I need to get done. I know when I need to do it. I know what day I need to record the podcast. I know when I need to have it done by. I know that I need to do a couple things for it. I know what days I want to check in with clients. I know what my habits are. I know what days I want to clean the house. I want it to feel clean. I know what days I want to, I'm very habitual and very planned person based on how I feel, how those things make me feel. I'm also very disciplined. If I say, for example, this year, I'm not drinking alcohol, which that probably needs to be an episode on its own as well. I'm not drinking alcohol this year. I'm disciplined enough to know that I can do that. And when I said to myself, I'm not drinking alcohol this year, and I played with it in my mind for a while, like, can you actually do that? It was an absolute no-brainer for me. I am disciplined enough to do that, even if everybody around me is drinking. And we've already gone out this year with friends in January, and they were all drinking, and I had water, and I had one mocktail. And it was interesting how I felt. I felt different than I thought I would. Again, I can dive into that maybe in next week's episode. but it wasn't hard. I'm disciplined enough to stick to my macros, to say, nope, I can't do that tonight. I have to hit my steps. I'm eating this for dinner. I'm not doing that. I am doing this. I'm disciplined. That came from me saying, I'm sick and tired of how I look. I'm sick and tired of how I feel. I'm going to commit to this program. I'm going to commit to learning macros. I'm going to commit to not giving up on macros until they work for me. I'm going to figure out how this works. I'm going to do it because that is exactly what I want. So I'm already pretty disciplined, stubborn, and habitual in general. But when I stuck to my discipline and my habits and my fitness, and I started to see my body transform, that gave me confidence in me transforming. That gave me confidence that I can do anything. If I can control what I do, say, how I feel, what my body looks like, I can give that to my kids as well. I can say, you're able to do this. You are capable of this. I can also be disciplined in my work, and I can be disciplined with my home and my jobs, right? My duties. It translates in so many different ways. I can be disciplined in my friendships and say, I don't want to talk about this. That's not something that's negotiable for me. Now, if someone says, oh, you should really have a drink, come on, just one drink, it won't hurt you. I know that it will hurt me. I know because if I said I'm not going to do it and I do it, I will not trust myself. I know that I will feel the next morning, I will feel like shit. I know that I will miss my workout. I know then my appetite will be off because I'll be hungover. Not after one drink, but we all know I'm not drinking one drink. Who's doing that? And one drink isn't even worth the money or the feeling. So if I'm drinking one, I'm drinking more. But anyway, that's what it looks like. But that's just a very brief, because I can't get into it all in this episode because I'm already at my time limit that I wanted to keep for this episode. But I think that's where I wanted to start with it and just kind of get that out there, is because of fitness, because I love the way that I look. I love the way that I feel. I love that I did that. I love that I fucking did that. I built my body. I said no. I said yes. I meal prepped. I took my ass to the gym. I took my ass for walks. I did that. That translates into now, yeah, I can build a business. Yeah, I can teach women how to do this. Yeah, I can have a podcast. I can have videos on YouTube and Spotify. Scary as shit, yes. But I can do that. I can also tell my kids, yeah, you can do that. I can help you, but you're capable of doing that. I can tell my friends, you're a badass. You can do that. Or I can tell my friends, I don't really like this relationship anymore. I don't think we're good for each other. Bye, right? It translates into so many other places. So to answer those questions, that's how I wanted to do that. But I really think that I could dive into way more deeply what I was like before and different situations that I remember specifically struggling with my confidence and struggling with needing to take control of something in my life. And I did, and it happened to be my fitness. And that helped me to, translate that into other areas. Something else is when you see people at the gym, right? And they are pushing and they are fighting for their lives. And there are some people look like they are just at war with themselves. They are, and they're growing and they're changing. And I'm like so proud of them. When you see people like that, I don't go to the gym a lot, but I've seen people like that, or you just see people on Instagram struggling in the gym or just crying, sobbing, working their asses off. And people really commit to going and doing those things. Like, it's just so awesome to see, because I know that's going to translate for them in other areas. So a very brief explanation of that question, but it's been sitting in my Spotify for a while and I've been wanting to talk about it, and I'm trying to figure out how exactly to do that. So let me know if you want to hear about me not drinking. I can actually probably tie that into how fitness has changed other areas of my life, because yeah, that's a whole thing. So yeah, I'll try to touch on that next week. And if not next week, soon. But thank you so much for writing in your questions. I am going to put a story highlight on my Christy Castillo Fit Instagram and my Unfuck Your Fitness podcast Instagram pages. So in the highlight section, there will be you can click on it and there will be a question box where you can add your questions at any time. playing around with exactly how to do that so that I can make sure they're all answered, but you can ask them anytime. So I will, of course, the week before or the day before, put the question box up and say, hey, ask me your questions. But anytime you have a question that you think of, put it on Spotify or go to one of my Instagram pages and post it there, because I love your questions. I can also answer them in content, but I really like answering them here in long form. So thank you so much. I hope you liked this episode. Be sure to let me know you loved this episode in Spotify. And again, ask any other questions and let me know. Please just let me know you want me to keep doing these Q&As. I think they're so fun, but I also want to make sure it's really good info for you. So I'll talk to you next week.